Can we do this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Guys, welcome back to Thailand and the Time Zone Junkies. If you're new here, I'm Marlin and next to me is my husband Alex. About 3 weeks ago, we recorded and posted a video talking about our travel life in the last couple of months leading up to the pandemic that we are all experiencing at the moment in one or another way. And as it's been quite a long time since we talked about this now, and a lot of things have changed, we thought it was time to give you guys an update. I want to point out that we wrote the well, not script, but the outline for this video many days ago. And it's taken us a lot of effort to actually put the camera here in front of us, sit down on these chairs and talk to you guys because we've been feeling very unmotivated.
Not long after we recorded our last update video, the governor of Ranong and the locals from this island held a meeting and they were discussing the different measures that they wanted to put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And some of these measures included, for example, the closure of the island from the 1st of April until the end of April, which means that no new arrivals could come to the island and still can't come to the island as we're still in April. And also, if you needed to leave the island, this would only be for emergency situations such as going to a hospital, going to do visa extensions, or if you needed to go to catch a flight.
Yeah, so obvious reasons, they don't want people to go to the mainland just to do some shopping for pleasure and then come back, because that would be way too risky for the island. And actually, up until today, I don't think there have been any cases or confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the province of Ranong, nor on this island, which is a very, very small island. Now, a second measure that they put in was the wearing of masks. When do we need to use them?
Well, it's a little bit vague on when you should use them, but it says when you go out in public. So for ourselves personally, when we're driving around on a motorbike to go to a restaurant or we need to go shopping, we wear the masks. And when we go into the shops, we wear the mask as well, of course. When we go down to the beach, however, we don't need to do that, obviously, because we're on the beach, we're hundreds of meters from anyone. Because
most of the times we don't wear them when we're walking around the resort either. It's not really clear when we're supposed to wear them, but I think we're all just trying to use common sense. And I think that many of the foreigners here are just wearing the masks to because we're told to, maybe not because we believe in it. It's quite controversial, this mask thing, whether you should wear them or not wear them. Anyways, that's one of the things. Another thing is to not go out as much as you normally do. Going to the beach, we do as much as we normally do. It's a 3-kilometer beach that we're staying on. There are not many people, maybe a few more people now, because I think since the closure of the island, a lot of resorts on the other beaches might have closed down. There's not much to do on this is the main island, so that's why. So I think people are maybe moving over to our island.
Or to our beach.
To our beach, yeah, sorry. To our beach. And at sunset, there are quite a few people down at the beach collecting clams, but those are locals.
But if you go out during the day from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., you're basically on your own on the beach. So
no, you won't see anyone. It's very easy to keep social distance, which is the other thing that they asked us to do. So not going out too much. So like we said, we're going to the beach, but we're not going to the town as often as we did before. So we're going for groceries. We don't really need many groceries. We just need fruit and some porridge, and we do that. We tend to buy a little bit more so we don't have to go every day.
Yeah,
that's what we do. Social distancing, super easy on a really wide beach. However, there are people here who seem to think that they are invincible, because many people on this island are long-term visitors and they come every year, and I guess they just seem to think that even though they meet a new person who they've never met before, they're not going to get it.
Yeah, so
yeah.
For us, we just try to keep our distance from everyone. We don't really speak to too many people, to be honest.
No, but it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you stop and someone speaks to you and they don't keep the distance. Sometimes I tell people that we are doing social distancing. Sometimes it feels awkward and weird to do that. I'm sure that many of you can relate to that, because it's just weird to tell people to keep the distance. I mean, I'm too humble sometimes to do that. I don't know, because not everyone believes in this. And what else?
Yep, also the restaurants and bars. So most of the restaurants are still open. Obviously the resorts that are still open have their restaurants open, and it seems like you can go and eat in pretty much every place. There is always alcohol gel available to clean your hands before you touch anything. Or
yeah, that's one thing that they've done. They've provided the resorts and the restaurants with big tubs of alcohol gel, which is a really good thing. And that was very, very used and taken advantage of the first days of this closure of the island. I don't think people do it as well anymore.
It depends which restaurants and bars or not bars, but which restaurants and guest houses or bungalow places you go to.
The restaurants were also supposed to change the seating so that there's more space between the tables. Some restaurants have taken this very seriously, and others maybe not as seriously. But there's no one here to check it. There's no police or military here to actually check this.
Yeah, there were local measures put in place, So the other thing was bars. All the bars on the island have been closed as far as I'm aware.
Supposed to be closed. I'm not really sure if that's the case, though. And there are not many bars.
No, that's true. There aren't many bars. And alcohol has been... well, they're supposed to have a bit of prohibition on alcohol, but, you know, people like to have a little drink.
Yeah, there are no parties on the island, so no one is going out getting drunk anyway. So, But
if you want a cold beer, you can get one.
You can get one. This is Thailand after all. What else do we have? Let's see what I wrote on the paper. I think that was about it when it comes to the measures that they put into place here on the island. Then I don't remember how many days after the meeting, but not too long after the meeting, the Prime Minister of this country declared state of emergency. So when they had the meeting here and they put in the measures here, there was not yet state of emergency in Thailand, but now there is since the 26th of March. And did that actually mean anything to start with for us?
The only thing that has changed really for us here on the island is that there is a curfew nationwide, and that is also implemented here. So from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. you're supposed to be inside your bungalow or your resort area.
But it took at least a week after the announcement of the state of emergency before that was actually announced. Now there are other places in Thailand such as Phuket and other places where they have different curfews. They started with the curfew from 8 p.m. until 3 in the morning, and then it got extended until 4 in the morning when the 10 to 4 came in. Now I think there are some parts of Phuket that are under total lockdown. So on the mainland and on like the bigger tourist islands, other measures are put into place. I also want to point out that the Prime Minister of Thailand, when he declared state of emergency, he actually gave the local governors the power to put in whatever measures they feel necessary in their regions, in their provinces.
Yeah. So it's different wherever you go in Thailand, but that's the situation for us here on this little island at the moment.
And even though we have the curfew here, no one is actually talking about the curfew. I mean,
there's not much to do, right?
No, there's not much to do. And I mean, there are no parties. We're always back at the bungalow way before 10, probably like 8 or 9, like right after dinner. We go home, we have dinner at maybe 7 or 7:30 p.m. And it's like this for most people. There are hardly anyone here. I want to point out that this island is tiny. There are about 400 locals here only, plus the resort owners, and many of them have gone home already. Tourists are going home every day because they've got flights to catch. They're being repatriated, all of those things. And things that have happened on the mainland that don't really have any effect here on the island for us is that there are lots of travel restrictions. There are hardly any flights, hardly any domestic flights, only a few. From where we are, Ranong to Bangkok, all the domestic flights are suspended for the month of April at least, probably will be extended as well. There's hardly any public transport. I think most long haul distance buses, that was a mouthful, long distance buses are cancelled all over the country.
Yeah. So one thing good that has happened for tourists in the last few days has been a very important development, is that your visa extension will be automatically renewed until the end of April, and if they extend the state of emergency and the pandemic situation until the end of May, then your visa extension will be automatically extended till the end of May. So that's good for people, because when people went to the immigration offices around the country, the queues were crazy, people were squashed in together, and it was just not a good situation. So that's a great development.
It's been so crowded. I have seen some videos and photos from the immigrations. They've also put they also created or made some temporary immigration offices on some of the bigger islands, and they are overcrowded. No one can keep a distance to the other. It's been awful. That's such a dangerous thing if you want to prevent the spread of the virus. Like, it's crazy, and it took a long time for this to happen. People were on about it a lot, but just wouldn't happen, and tourists weren't treated very well.
But now it's happened, so that's good.
Until the end of April. As long as there's a state of emergency in Thailand, and that is supposed to be until the end of April, then I assume if that state of emergency is extended, I assume that they will hold another meeting, the Prime Minister has to sign again, and there will be another automatic extension, because at the moment it's only for like 2 weeks extra for people. However, this extension thing at the moment doesn't affect us, because we already have an extension. When we arrived, and I think we said this in the last update video, when we arrived in Ranong from Bangkok, where we only spent a few days before coming down here to the island, we actually went to immigration and extended immediately, because we had the feeling that something like this might happen, that they would close the borders, that we wouldn't be able to do a normal visa run, crossing borders, coming back like we normally do. So yeah, we were prepared. We have our extension until the 9th of May.
For the people that want to go home and want to catch flights from Bangkok back to Europe or wherever they need to go, we heard lots of different information about how easy it is to get to Bangkok with taxi.
From Ranong, where we are.
And I guess this is relevant for people travelling from other places as well, because some provinces are under lockdown. For example, you're not supposed to cross between the province of Ranong and Chumpon. But we managed to find some information, and we've read stories of other people who have managed to do this, and you can actually go by taxi all the way to Bangkok.
So the reason there is a lot of misconception and misunderstanding in the information about going by taxi to Ranong is that if you were to get a taxi driver who is located in Ranong to take you to Bangkok, he has to come back to Ranong. And for someone who leaves Ranong, this is a rule here for Ranong, for this province. So if you leave Ranong and come back, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So if you get a taxi driver from here or a minivan driver from here, you have to pay a lot more. I guess you have to cover for some of the loss of work for him, like income, as well as getting a medical certificate apparently from the hospital, and your driver needs one as well. But what we've heard, people who have done this, they haven't checked your certificate or your documents at all at the checkpoints. There are now over 300 checkpoints in Thailand set up to screen people, to take temperatures and check if you are sick or whatever. But apparently most checkpoints coming from here going to Bangkok, they don't even check you. They don't check for your documents, as far as we have understood.
At the moment.
There has also been talk about some kind of permission from the governor for the taxi driver to take you outside of the province and then coming back. A lot of things. So I was doing some research online, and I found this taxi company, Bangkok 24 or something like that. And I saw that they had a live chat on their webpage. So Alex got in some contact with them. Yep. And it turns out that they send a taxi driver from Bangkok to Ranong. He sleeps here one night, and then he takes you to Bangkok. And in Bangkok you don't have to quarantine, so problem out of the way, and it's half price.
Yeah, it was much cheaper.
Much cheaper. And we actually helped our neighbors here, an older couple staying at this resort, traveling to Bangkok this way. And it worked out.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, they didn't need any documents or anything. So, but we still have how many weeks before we are leaving?
It's just under 3 weeks, I think, until we are leaving to fly back to the UK.
Yeah. We decided that we didn't want to stay around here for the rainy season. I mean, there is no talk about a 24-hour lockdown at the moment in Thailand, but it might happen. We don't want to sit here on this island when that happens, because it's already started to rain a little bit, and we know from experience that it gets really, really rainy here towards the end of May. You can't really travel between provinces. A lot of hotels are no longer accepting new foreigners. These are directions from the government or the local governors for the hotels to not accept any new guests, and when the last guest leaves, they close the resorts. So we figured, even though the UK is under lockdown and there are many restrictions in the UK, we are gonna fly back to the UK.
We also bought the ticket because we were looking at the prices, and the prices were staying the same for the dates we were looking at, and then they just started going up like crazy, and we just thought, okay, we have to buy one now. We normally had afford to buy one, and it was more expensive than we wanted, but it was still okay. But if we'd have booked it 2 days later, it would have been double the price.
Before the state of emergency was declared, the flights were really cheap, and there were many airlines still flying. For example, Thai Airways, who has now suspended all of their flights,
and British Airways.
They had really cheap tickets flying direct from Bangkok to Heathrow for about £240 British pounds per person. Now if you want to book it close to the date, it's more like £1,500 to £3,000 per person, and that's crazy. So that doesn't work out at all for us, because we don't have that money. Most people don't have that money. There's also a risk of having your flight cancelled. It has happened to most of the people that we know here on the island. They had return tickets, they had them cancelled once, twice, even 3 times. And you don't get your money back, you get a voucher. So imagine having vouchers from 3 airlines to use up within a year, because that's normally the deal. Yeah,
and who knows what's going to happen within a year. So we booked with Qatar Airways. They have been flying the whole time. They seem to have 3 or 4 flights per day, but they usually have 1 or 2 that actually run. And then they kind of chuck everyone together. So
I guess going with Qatar Airways was a good thing, because
best bet.
Because they promised to not. They are the only airline, I think.
Well, one of the only airlines that are still flying.
And that has promised to not cancel all their flights. So that's the thing. And what happens when we get back then?
When we get home, we're supposed to be staying with my parents, but because they're a little bit worried about our transit between Thailand and the UK, and also for us as well, we're a little bit concerned we don't want to get them sick. We catch them in. I mean, here, I think we're
not going to catch it here.
We're not
going to catch it here.
Sorry. Last year, unfortunately, my granddad passed away, but they still have his house. It's very close to my parents' house.
It's empty though.
It's empty, yeah. So we're going to stay there for 2 weeks, and we have everything we need there, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, Alex's mom is going to put a few pieces of furniture in there, so like a little sofa bed. There's going to be some beds for us to sleep on. It's going to be a table. We're just going to have to deal with that. In the UK, we can still go out for walks. This is in a small little town. We've got the beach right there. We've got a nature reserve right there. So we can social distance and go out for walks. We just can't go to the supermarket. But we will make other videos about that when we are back in the UK, and tell you a little bit about how quarantining in the UK was like. But that's weeks from now. And after that we're gonna move in with Alex's parents indefinitely until this crap is over. Who knows how long this is gonna take. We had so many plans for this year. We normally don't make plans. We never write down our goals and our plans for the year. We normally wing it. And this was the first year that we actually made a plan, and we had made like a list of
really
things
nice plan,
that we had really nice plan as well. Like where we wanted to travel, what we were going to do with our business that we're trying to set up, which is our website. Well,
anyway,
I think we
not the only people who have.
No, exactly. We can also agree that maybe we should have made plans.
No.
Not that like many of them anyways, because
nobody knows.
Yeah. Before we end this, maybe we can talk a little bit about how we are feeling. How are you feeling about this whole situation?
Yeah, I'm quite good at shutting off my emotions, so I try not to feel too much about it, and I don't have a need to talk too much about it because Marlon talks a lot about it.
I talk about it all the time.
So yeah, I'm okay, but I mean, it's an awful situation, and there are people in horrible situations around the world. We're very fortunate to be here and have our current situation, have enough money, have enough food, have somewhere to sleep. So yeah, I'm feeling fortunate.
Yeah, and on a paradise island. But just because we are on this beautiful island doesn't mean that we go unaffected by it, because it's a very strange feeling knowing that the whole world is off limit. It's a very strange feeling knowing that if we leave this island and for some reason we can't get to Bangkok and catch a flight, we can't come back to this island, because if we leave we can't come back, because the valid reason, that wouldn't be a valid reason to come back. We left, we're going to catch a flight.
No.
It's very uneasy feeling to not know if there is eventually going to be a 24-hour lockdown. For me, for example, I feel very uneasy because even though we're going back to the UK to be with Alex's family, I can't go back to Sweden because currently there are no flights between Britain and Sweden. I mean, that might not be the case in May when we go back home, but my parents live in a very small apartment, and maybe it will be a little bit risky for a while that I go back, because the UK has got many more cases compared to Sweden. I don't know, like it's such a complicated situation. I'm also not really being able to enjoy my time here because I feel like the fact that we should be social distancing with people, and we are most of the time, I would say 99% of the time we're not close to people. It's a weird feeling not being close to people. I like being able to speak to people without feeling this. It's like this weird tension, and every time you meet someone, this is what you talk about. I talk a lot about it with Alex, but when I meet other people, let's say when I go for my walk on the beach, which we normally do twice a day, sometimes I do it on my own. If I meet someone, they're going to stop and talk to me for 15 minutes about this, or about the visas, or about anything that is related to this subject. And that is my meditation time. When I walk, I meditate. So it kind of gets screwed up, and you don't really want to say, no, sorry, I don't want to talk to you either. And then you don't want to stand there with them for 15 minutes. Even if you keep the distance, you don't want to stand there for 15 minutes. It's a really... It's a very tricky and really odd situation, and I'm feeling it more and more every day. Like, I'm feeling the negative effects of it more and more every day. I am quite sensitive emotionally. He is as well. He just bottles it up. And then, yeah. Not knowing what to do with our future. You guys can relate to this for sure, because this is like the reality for most people. So far we've been lucky, like Alex said. I do not know how I will feel when we're in the UK. I mean, I know that every time we've stayed for a certain amount of months in the UK before, I've gone into depression, and this is why we're living this life, because I can't be stuck in one place like that. I can't live that mainstream life, if you like. This is why we wanted to create our own reality, like we're kinging it, would say, rule our own world. Anyways, so yeah, I'm quite worried about how I'm gonna feel when we're going back to the UK. I don't know. It's a very strange situation. We really feel for everyone out there who has been in lockdown for longer than us. There are countries where lockdown means not going out at all, 24-hour curfew, not even going out for groceries more than like once every 10 days. Being inside 4 walls, maybe even with kids, very intense. We're feeling for all the poor countries, like India, where people had to walk hundreds of kilometers to come home to their villages, just to not be let into their villages by the people there. I mean, this is such a weird situation, and I could probably talk about this forever and ever and ever. What is the right solution? Lockdown or no lockdown? My country is not in lockdown, for example, getting a lot of criticism for that, the Swedish government. But who knows? Who knows what's going to be in the end when this crap is over? Who knows now what the right thing was to do? No one knows. Yeah. Do we want to ask for some questions for a Q&A or not?
Yeah, sure. We were thinking about doing a little Q&A for you guys here on YouTube. So if you have any questions for us, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be related to a virus outbreak. It can be
if you want to.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, so anything
you want to know about our past travels, us, our lives, maybe not travel related either. What did we do when we were younger? What did we do before we traveled? I'm giving you the questions and making it easy for you guys. Just write them in the comments below.
Yeah.
And we will try to make a Q&A as soon as possible.
Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, I don't really know how to end this video. It's such a strange situation. Really strange. We hope that you are all staying sane, staying healthy, staying at home. We hope that this crap hasn't affected you in too bad of a way. It's very, very important to stay positive, but also very important to just let yourself be sad as well, because it's natural, it's normal. This is not a normal situation. Don't push yourself too hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, we love you guys. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this.
I know how we
vlog.
can finish it, man.
How?
We can give him a virtual hug. Are you ready?
We're gonna give you a virtual hug, guys.
Are you ready? Bring it in, guys. Bring it in. Come on.
All right, together.
Yeah, see you later.